Alright guys, it's time. We're going to put the buttons in the bottom of this guy. There's a bunch of videos out there on YouTube on how to take the controller apart, so I figured I wouldn't cover that, but I will link to a couple good ones. I've got all my screws and controller caps, joysticks, all that stuff sitting in there, and we used the T8 Torx bit to take the main screws out. There's one here, one there, one in the center of the label. One there and one there, so it's 5 screws to take this apart, and this will lift your front shell and your back shell both off. Figuring out where I want the buttons, so what I've done is gone ahead and put some painter's tape on the back of this shell while I get some more clear coats drying on my grips. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of ink or something that'll transfer my fingerprint to that tape, and I can figure out where my fingers naturally lie, and then we'll figure out exactly where I want them. So what I'm going to do first is, rather than install these larger buttons with the keycaps, is until I figure out exactly what it works, I ordered a bag of about 100 little ones. So these are what I use on the 360s, and size-wise, they're a lot smaller, so we're going to try those first. Alright, sorry about that, my daughter needed something. So you can see the size between the two. They're obviously worlds apart in size. So we're going to start with the smaller ones, see how they go, and then move to the bigger ones if I think it's going to work. Another thing to note is the rumble pack that's on your left side or your ADS side has more weight than the one on the right. So if you're going to take these out, what you have to do to get the other side of the board, you're going to want to keep that in mind when putting them back on. I'm going to actually leave them out for a little while, see if I like the weight difference, and if I don't really care, I'll put them back in. Alright, so I got the bottom of the shell put back on, as you can see, and it looks like there's actually quite a gap there for us to work with. So I can definitely use the bigger buttons. I'm still going to use the smaller ones to figure out the placement, and then I can just quickly remove those and solder in the bigger buttons when I'm ready. Alright, we've got the rumble packs desoldered. They're just sitting there on the side. I'm going to leave them out for now, like I said, so I'm just going to put them in a parts bin. It takes literally seconds to desolder those. These wires here are actually for the little rumble packs that are in the triggers. I'm not really sold on those either way yet, so we're going to leave them in there. It obviously makes things a little tighter for figuring out trigger stops and stuff, but in a way it also helps with the way the Scuf does it, so we'll see. Most of the guides out there will show you what to do next, and they show you having to remove both boards. I'm going to post an updated image in the video or in the sub of a guide that shows you how to do it with just this daughter board that connects in. So we're going to remove a couple of screws here. There's just 1, 2. I think there's a couple on the other side too. No, it's just the 2. So we're going to go ahead and remove those 2, and that board will just snap off, which takes a little bit of force. I am probably going to have to desolder these just to get the board off, so keep that in mind. Alright, we got the trigger rumbles desoldered, and actually found out that these screws here, and actually there and there, and there's a couple under there too, are actually T6, not T8, so you need a separate Torx bit for that, which is why it's good that you pick up a good full Torx set. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those 2 screws, and then we'll get going with the rest of it. So that's what it looks like all taken apart. This is the piece that we're going to be focusing on. But long story short, some of the button functions are on the one board, some are on the other. But there are these 2 sets of contact pins, one in there and one there. And all the button functions actually come through these solder joints here. So we're going to tap into those so we can do all of our soldering onto this board without having to remove the other one. It'll save us time, and it'll also make it cleaner. Alright, I've reclaimed some wire from some old USB cables. I usually take about 8 to 10 inches just to be safe. And basically what I'm going to be doing is twisting up the ends, sticking some solder on it, and tinning the wires, and then we're going to get them set up onto 2 switches. Clip 2 of the legs. We only need 2 to go with. As long as you pick 2 on the same side, it really doesn't matter. And then we'll go from there. Alright, I got my camera set up on something stupid here, so I can maybe show you guys how I do this. So I've already got the white one on. I've already clipped these other 2 wires off the side here. So this one just needs to go under there. So basically what we're going to do is take a little bit of solder and get the 2 stuck together nice and good. And that's basically it. So I've already got my soldering iron heated up, obviously, since I did the other wire. And yeah, we're going to give this a shot here. Hopefully I don't burn myself, since I got this camera in my way too. Alright, so I like to get a little bit of solder on the pin itself, just to kind of get things moving. And then we're going to introduce this wire right onto there. And it might take some adjustment of the helping hands, which is what this device is using to hold the switch in the wires is actually called. So you want to get them touching it if you can beforehand. Sometimes you can actually twist them together, but in this case we couldn't. But right there's actually a decent connection. So we're going to do this, heat it up from the bottom, and what's going to happen is the heat from the soldering iron is going to draw the solder down through both connections and hold them together. And then what you'll be left with are 2 wires that are nice and tight. So then what I usually do is I take these and I twist them so that they form a nice coherent twisting braid to wherever they go. I might not actually be able to do this with this build though, based on the way the controller is set up. So we'll give it a shot. I'm going to go ahead and wire up another one of these for the B button. Alright, so I've got the holes for the buttons drilled out. They work pretty well. So what I did was I actually put a little bit of Sharpie on my finger, held the controller normally, let the Sharpie transfer onto the blue tape, and then I just kind of drilled it out. How I figured out what to do was I took you guys' your favorite tool here and figured out that the small button base was like 3.45 millimeters. So I figured I needed a 3.5 millimeter drill bit to go ahead and drill the hole, and I found out that that transfers exactly to 3/64 in US. So basically just drill those out. Now I'm going to go ahead and bevel them with a little bit with a little tool. Alright guys, it's Pinterest time. We've got the hot glue gun out. I'm going to show you my way of getting the switches in, which is, you know, pretty simple when you think about it, but I like the wire to go off towards the more open side of the shell, and then as you can see it doesn't hang in there very well. So what I like to do is just take a little piece of tape, fold these leads down just a little bit, put a little bit of forward pressure on them, and then just tape this side into place, just off the edge of the connector. We're going to peel this off in a minute, but we just want to get it down firmly on there. And basically what I'll do is I'll take something while I'm doing this and push down on this to make a good contact. And while I put hot glue on that side, which will hold that in, I'll take the tape out and do the other side. So that typically works pretty well, and I've already got the other side ready over there. So we're just waiting for the hot glue gun to warm up, and yeah, we're actually ready. So let's just go ahead and do this here. I'm going to hold the switch down against the housing and throw a little bit of hot glue along the edge. You don't want to use too much because you don't want to restrict the switch from moving. You just want enough for it to hold the switch in place while you get the other side of it in. So that's good. We're going to go ahead and do the other side here. Sorry, my dryer's running, so there's a little extra noise. But we'll go ahead and hold this in, get the hot glue gun in here. And we're going to go a little more in depth with the hot glue here in a second, but the basic gist of it is you want it to kind of hold there. And so what I've done is I've also color coded the wires so that the red button B is on the right side and green is on the left, and I've got basically the wires color coded with that as well. So these are probably dry by now. We're going to go ahead and pull the tape off, and they're definitely dry. Stop that dryer real quick. Alright, so I'm going to peel the tape off. And sure enough, it's on there, but you can see it moved a little bit, so it's not 100% secure. So we're going to get in there. And all the spaces we didn't get before, the sides and in the back, we're also going to cover those solder joints. I don't want to go too much because I might replace these with bigger buttons, so just kind of just enough to get the job done. And I think that's all we'll need of the hot glue gun for now. We'll want to do a little bit more later when we get it up on the board and we want to give it an anchor point, but that's fine for now. Alright, I thought I'd comment on this part since a couple of people asked me. If you can see here, that's actually a little switch that's right there. When you push down, you can see it activating. So some people said they wanted the stick to take longer to push, so what you could do is get in there and cut some of that white piece out so that it would take longer to go. The only other option is to actually desolder all these points, pull this off, and stiffen the spring on the inside of it. The other thing you could do to stiffen the actual movement of the controller itself would be to solder some little hooks or something on the side and use like dental rubber bands or whatever they're called, and give this a little more resistance all around. You'd have to hit it at 4 corners. That's a bit much for me, so I'm just going to leave it how it is. Hey guys, sorry my battery died. I had to come over here so I could charge it. I got everything working, but I figured I'd take it apart just to show you the last little bits of it. So, there we have it. Got these common solder points here. I've got the B button that goes around to the other side of the board, the A that goes around the other side of the board, and the wires all routed here. And then on the underside here we've got a button there and a button there. Some gotchas that you're going to watch out for are, if you're going to cover this in any kind of sealant to keep the pads from getting contact, or just trying to keep the wires a little more snug, there's these 2 posts that could interfere with that. So you want to kind of angle these wires up towards the middle of the board, otherwise your mic adapter won't fit. Other than that, when you're putting the controller back in, if you see these 2 battery blades here, it's best to line those up where they go, and then the controller will sort of start to fit in place. Except for right here, you usually have to push that in just to get it to click. You might have seen that, and then on the same thing on this side, just push it in a little bit, and then the controller will click into place. Then it's just simply a matter of dropping your faceplate back on, and then hitting 2 screws here, screw under the label, 2 screws there, and then sticking your grip handles back on. So I tested this out. It all works great, and I definitely think I'm going to move to bigger buttons. One of the other things that I considered doing was taking one of these, which is a button from an old 360 controller, and that I've shortened obviously and hollowed out, and actually gluing it to the bottom of this so that your button is actually an Xbox button. It's a little more comfortable on the fingers. I might give that a try. It's simple enough to undo if I don't like it. And yeah, so if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.